everyone, happy Sunday and happy Mother's Day to those of you celebrating it today around the world. It's Alysia here, and I'm very excited to be with you this morning for our bi-weekly Sunday Investor Global Online Fireside Chat. We are broadcasting once again from our downtown San Francisco office, overlooking the Twitter building and absolutely loving the warm San Francisco weather that we've been having these past few days. Yesterday, we took in the incredible views from Twin Peaks high above the hills of San Francisco. It was truly inspiring. Things are really getting exciting for our global online fireside chat community, and we cannot wait to share all the exciting updates with you. So stay tuned. Today, once again, we have an absolutely amazing session planned for you. We have a panel of brilliant investors from across the globe logging in to help you hone your entrepreneurial killer instinct. As an entrepreneur, the idea of success should be built into your DNA, but the question is, how do you achieve it? We always hear about the importance of trusting your instinct and gut, but how do you make sure that it's finely attuned to achieving success? Today, we're going to have that question answered for you. So let me go ahead and introduce you to our VIP guests before asking them to properly introduce themselves to you. Welcome to London, UK-based Jonathan Quail, who's a corporate finance and capital raising expert, a trainer, business coach, and strategy consultant. Welcome to Missouri, USA-based Shannon Roganovic, who's a property investor and pharmaceutical industry expert. Welcome to Chennai, India-based Lakshmi Naranayan Ramanathan, who is the CIEE Vice Chairman and investor, education, entrepreneurship, and economic evolution thought leader and consultant. And welcome to New Delhi, India-based Divya Jasmira, who's a startup community builder, entrepreneur, angel investor, and women's economic empowerment champion. Now we'd like to ask each of our VIPs to introduce themselves to our community. Jonathan, please go ahead.
Thanks, Alysia, and thanks so much for giving me the opportunity to come on the show. So my entrepreneurial journey started in about 2000. I was a professional squash player and decided that didn't pay very much money. So started a business doing web development and marketing. That sort of evolved over a period of 5 years. I've always had an interest in personal growth. And so used the web skills I developed to build a personal growth business in South Africa. I'm South African originally. And started doing work with individuals, life coaching, some business coaching, workshops, retreats, seminars, worked with some of the big companies in South Africa as well, really trying to help people to think differently about themselves, their lives, and their businesses. So, that's my background. I still have a passion for helping people to become the best that they can be. And I always thought entrepreneurs, it's a really great way to grow yourself, because you take on a lot of challenges, and you have to grow personally in order to meet those and to succeed. And then I came over to the UK about 4 years ago. A friend of mine asked me to help him raise money for an oil and gas startup, oil and gas exploration company, which we managed to do, raised about £1.6 million in a fairly short space, in about 6 months. And that business continues. I'm no longer involved in it, but it's just had an offer from a Chinese investment consortium for $500 million for 51% of the company. So, from pounding the pavements of London, trying to get startup capital from really, we crowdfunded it to that is, it hasn't happened yet, but I've seen how just a small seed can grow into something amazing. And then I started my own corporate finance business with a partner about 1.5 years ago. And really my passion is to help businesses and entrepreneurs who need to raise capital to do that, to help them professionalize their offering, to help them present it in a way that investors are going to be comfortable with, and give them the maximum chance of raising the capital they need to grow their business or project. It could be a unique project.
Thank you, Jonathan. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're very excited to have you join us. Shannon from Missouri, please say hi to everyone.
Hello, my name is Shannon Roganovic. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to join all of you. I'm in Kansas City, the United States. And my background really started with Pfizer Pharmaceuticals from ground up. So I started in the sales division. And then later I moved to a company called LifeCell. LifeCell is a biologic tissue company, and we really specialize in breast reconstruction, after the mastectomies have taken place, and then the abdominal hernia repair for the most challenging, horrible cases that you've ever seen. But really, where I was so excited whenever I worked for those companies, and then that company's now been acquired by Allergan, who is a very large company as well, is that I was able to bring into that mix the entrepreneurial spirit that I really grew up with. My parents have always been very interested and has been invested from a small age, and it's just really carried on throughout the years in real estate investing. So what I noticed while I was working for these larger companies is that there was really a disconnect between what we see with the entrepreneurial spirit and then what you do as an individual role for some of these larger companies, and helping to bridge that gap, bring that together, has been always a huge passion of mine, to help to teach people how do you bring those bridges together, and how can we be more entrepreneurial spirited no matter what setting you're in, is always very exciting to me. And then my brother and I have a real estate investment company. It's called Millennium Properties 360. So we continue on in Kansas City to do investing, both long-term and short-term investing.
Welcome, Shannon. Very, very excited to have you join us. You've got a global perspective as an entrepreneur and investor. So thank you for introducing yourself. RL, please say hi to everyone.
Amazing, Alysia. Your energy is infectious. Many thanks for having me in the show. It's truly amazing. I would say it's amazing, amazing, and amazing. And basically, my entrepreneurial journey started way back in 2000, and I've been advising people on wealth, right from individuals investing few thousand rupees, few $1,000, and it grew to institutions which invest a few billion rupees in the last 15 years. From there, I moved on to advising startups, family offices, and to the specific investments across US, India, and UK. So I bring these people, network with these people, and they make them India-specific investments. I'm also part of Indian Institute of Technology Consult, which is a premium educational institution, #1 school in India in terms of technology. They have their own startup incubation center. We have many startups there investing in the specific to healthcare, education, social impact, tech, and many other things in defense, etc. So we work along with this environment to help these startups grow and bring investment to them, advise them on strategy and business development, how to generate the cash flow. That is a key thing which startups today are missing, how to generate this cash and think from that perspective. So that is basically a simple introduction about myself. I have my specialization in psychology and MBA in marketing and finance. That is my education. I'm connected globally. I'm connected well with the pharma companies and healthcare companies, and I associate with my brother who is a doctor. He's done his PhD in Europe, and he has been a part of Europe startup environment for the last 10 years. So we collaborate with them in investment specific to healthcare industry and pharma industry. I'm connected with the top pharmaceutical companies in India. And my mission,
please continue.
My mission by 2025 is to impact 1 million families and to make them grow into millionaires.
Wow, wow, wow. Welcome, RL. Divya, please say hi to everyone.
Hi, everybody, and thank you so much, Alysia, for inviting me. And I would say everybody is really enthusiastic, and my enthusiasm level has just, reached the zenith now. So introducing myself, I did my computer science engineering from Delhi College of Engineering in 2015. So that way I'm very young. And from there, I joined PricewaterhouseCoopers. I worked there. The experience was very good, but somewhere I realized that maybe that job life wasn't meant for me. So I moved into entrepreneurship. I started with a venture called Physiognomics. It is now physiotherapy and ergonomic science service for offices, for colleges, for school students. And I really started that. One reason was definitely that I wanted to, start something of my own. And second was that I myself suffered from some ailments due to a bad lifestyle, an unhealthy lifestyle. So I wanted to help people to, include a healthy lifestyle, a counter effect to how they are affecting their health and their daily routine, especially if I talk about people in IT and MNCs. the way they are sitting entire day, spending their life in front of the laptop and everything. So how we can help them to counter these ill effects. So that's why I started Physiognomics. Since I got in sync with the startup ecosystem, I joined Delhi Startups, where I'm handling the strategy and partnerships. Delhi Startups, if I talk about, it's by far the most active startup community of Delhi. And it's basically a go-to community platform for all the startup needs. We have around 35,000 plus active members with us and a very strong student community base. And we have helped in the last 2 years around 15 plus startups in raising funds of worth, let's say, $4 million. And we are constantly helping our community members to collaborate and grow. And that's the power of, community building, that you get to meet a lot of new people every day. You get to know their experiences, how they are hustling every day, what are their plans, what is their vision. So I am meeting the diversity, and I am really learning from them every day. Apart from Delhi Startups, we have Delhi Angels, which are our angel investment company. It's a group of angel investors who want to invest in early age startups. So they invest via Delhi Angels. We have a few success stories already, and we are taking it to the next level now. So the aim that we have via Delhi Angels is to, assist these investors who are looking out to invest in companies to build the great companies, which actually could, collaborate and
Thank you, Divya. Unfortunately, we are running behind schedule today. We have a lot of community questions, so we're going to just jump straight in. A quick few shout outs before we start asking our experts the questions you've all been sending through. On the screen are contact details for our panelists. Feel free to reach out to them. I'm sure they want to hear from you. You're welcome to always send questions through to inspire me at onlinefiresidechat.com, and we'll do our very best to answer them for you. Just a reminder, we have community champions and ever-growing meetup groups in over 80 cities and 55 countries across the globe, including in North and South America, the UK, Europe, Africa, the Middle East, India, Asia, and Australia. If you'd like to meet up with your local chapters or you'd like to start your own, please reach out to us via email or put you in contact with your local community champion. On that note, thank you to all our volunteer champions around the globe. You know that you're the heart and soul of our community, and we wouldn't be here today without you. Over the next few months, with all your help, we'll be sharing and inspiring with entrepreneurs across more than 100 countries. We know that together we can make this dream a reality. Thank you again to our VIP guests for joining us today, and to our growing family of supporters and collaborators from around the developing world for once again hosting sessions on a Sunday for hundreds of entrepreneurs who don't have access to the necessary bandwidth or understanding of English to join our sessions on their own. Thank you to all the ambassadors, ministers, UN officers, US Embassy corners, British Council offices, university campuses, schools, business incubators, Chamber of Commerce's, community centers, radio stations, and media for all your ongoing weekly hosting support and for raising awareness within your regions and communities. Thank you to everyone from our UN Women team for all your support. We are once again streaming live across new platforms today. If you'd like your community to join us and to share with new entrepreneurs, please let us know if you have a radio station you'd like us to broadcast from, and we'll do our best to connect with your community's radio station and entrepreneurs. We want to connect entrepreneurs in 100 countries, and with your help, we know we're going to make it happen. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for, we're going to jump on in and start learning from the best. Just so our VIPs are comfortable, how it's going to work is we're going to ask you a question. We're going to direct it at one of you, and then feel free to answer. If you're another panelist and you'd also like to answer, please just say, I'd love to share my thoughts as well, and then we'd love to hear from you too. So, starting easy. RL, this question's for you. In your experience and based on what you've seen around the globe, what do you think creates a killer entrepreneurial instinct?
In my view, the killer entrepreneurial instinct is how a person views business, his ideas, his attitude. And simple attitude is determination to succeed, and passion behind the idea, how committed he is, an individual, to the idea who wants to start a business. So that is the key question. To substantiate this, I would like to say that every entrepreneur today should question himself. He should be brutally honest to himself, why I am behind this idea. If he answers this question to himself, there can be many answers to this question. There may not be one answer. But he should be honest to himself. Why I am starting this idea? Is it for money? Is it I'm passionate about it? Somebody else is doing this idea, or the opportunity is available to me? Am I starting this idea? Am I jumping into the bandwagon? There are many answers to it, as I said. But if he's really passionate about it, he wants to bring that change, that idea is superior idea, that wants to create an impact. If he's committed to that cause, the probability of the success of the idea is going to be high. If he's behind money, if he's behind something else, he's not committed to that idea, then the success of the thing is going to be less. So in short, my reply to this question is passion behind that idea is what makes the success. To get that patient, one should have a right attitude.
Thank you, RL. Shannon, I know you've had a very interesting journey as an entrepreneur. We'd love to hear your thoughts in terms of what creates a killer entrepreneurial instinct.
You know, I really have to mimic my previous panel sentiments as well. I think passion is very important, but I think it's also very, very important to look at the analytics. You know, does it make sense? So does the idea make sense? And then running the numbers, looking at the market. I think all of those things are so important. But with the instinct, I think for me, it's all just taking the leap. I think all of us have so many great ideas. If we look around the world, there's so many opportunities for each of us. And I think the hardest part is to take the leap and then put action behind it. And I think if you're able to combine those two and making sure that you're running all the analytics, making sure every choice that you're making, yes, it's driven by passion, but yes, it makes financial sense and the numbers will follow it as well. If you can do all of those and harness that in one space, I think that you're going to be successful no matter where you are.
Thank you, Shannon. Jonathan, you've lived in South Africa, you live in the UK now. Shannon and RL touched on some very interesting points in terms of this combination of passion and numbers. Have you noticed any key characteristics across high impact entrepreneurs in South Africa or the UK that really speak to you in terms of their abilities as super entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I think in my experience that, you know, entrepreneurs who will stay in there and actually be successful in the long term tend to have an attitude of being quite humble, actually. If you do research into, you know, successful corporate leaders, you'll see that the most successful type of leader is what's called a servant leader. So it's not the person who's in it for themselves and they want the glory and they want all the credit. It's the person who's more like, okay, you know, I'm part of a team here. I'm leading almost from the back. I'm basically helping others to be as good as they can be. My job is to inspire others to be the best that they can be in the service of the vision and the mission of the organization, which the leader has to drive that. You know, it's really up to the leader to say, right, this is where we're going. This is our vision and these are our values. And then it's really inspire people around a core vision and values. And I think for me, that's really the key. I think you need to establish the values and the vision as an entrepreneur fairly early in the organization's history, and then build a culture where that sort of carries through. And if you can do that, that business will be successful long after you're gone. And I think that's often the challenge for entrepreneurs, is that they entrepreneurs are too often really build the business around themselves, and then it's very hard to sell a business like that, or to, you know, if they're going to run it for the rest of their lives, what happens when they're gone? So that would be my advice, is really think in the long term and say, okay, how can I build a culture that is really unique? Because the culture and the values of the business are really what's going to drive that business in the long term, and that's what's really going to create the value in the long term. In the short term, I think an entrepreneur who's charismatic and, you know, really is the life and soul of the business can succeed to a point. But I think if you really want to go on and build a large organization, build it into a $1 billion company, that's usually every entrepreneur's dream. I think you need to really work on becoming that servant leader type. And there's a lot of literature out there that you can read on, you know, what the characteristics of that person are. And the second sort of corollary to that is that you should really hang in there, because it's not, I think any entrepreneur will vouch for this. It's not all glamorous and glitz and, wow, aren't you? Sometimes, you're up at 2 o'clock in the morning and you're wondering why you're doing it, and you're going, this is really hard work, and you're wondering how you're going to pay this month's bills and so on. And that's when you really just have to go, you have to have, as RL said, you have to have a really good reason for doing it. I think if the motivating factor is just, I want the glory and I want the recognition and external things, I think you're gonna find that it's hard. That motivation is going to be insufficient to carry you through those tough times. But if there's something really deep inside you that's, I'm actually doing this because I want to help people in some way, I think that's key. Ultimately.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, we've got limited time and lots of questions for all of you.
Sure.
Divya, did you want to comment on anything that Jonathan was saying before we jump on to our next question?
Sure. So I'll keep it very brief because we are running out of time. So as my fellow panelists have already told, one point is that person should know whether he actually wants it, number one. Number two, the person should be an executor, right? Because ideas everyone has out there, but you should be able to execute it. Number three, you should be ready to take risks. Number four, you should want to create an impact. And number five is that fear of failure should never stop you. And one most important thing, if you want to have a killer mindset to become an entrepreneur, then you should enjoy the journey. It should never be burdensome for you. These are some important points to be kept in mind when you are embarking on this entrepreneurship journey.
Thank you, Divya. This question goes to Shannon, following up on what we were saying. Shannon, you've had an extraordinary journey. What effect would you think observing great business leaders has had on you developing your own killer investor mindset?
Oh, I think that's a great question. It's huge. I think that it makes you who you are. I think that all of us probably could look around and say, we're only as good as the people that we've made contact with and we surround ourselves by. I did grow up, fortunately, with two very entrepreneurial spirited parents, but they grew up in Western Kansas on wheat fields. And so they have always had that as well, and moved into the haberdashery area. And then they moved into investing residential real estate, which I thought was really interesting. When I look at that, though, my mentors have guided me in every step. I feel like if you have people around you, that you have them. So not only through my parents, but also in the medical industry. I'm fortunate to be surrounded by many surgeons that are very talented, and so just giving of their time and their knowledge, which they have limited time, but they give their knowledge, and they've helped in that way. I also am mentored by so many people that are in commercial real estate. But I think at the end of the day, it's always, what are they seeing in you that you may have not been able to capture yet? Because what I've experienced is people are saying, you can do this, you can do this. I know that you can, before you even embrace it yourself. And then when you do, when you take that leap, it's exhilarating. It's hard. As Jonathan has said, there are times that you have sleepless hours, but you keep persevering because the people that are behind you and believe in you know that you can do it. So sometimes it's that support that gets you through instead of just something that's in you. They bring that out and they empower you. So I hope that answers the question well, but those people have definitely inspired me. And then also I think I have a little bit of a unique perspective just because my family is so international. My husband's from Serbia, my sister-in-law is from Iceland, and my brother-in-law is from Spain. So I think those influences have really allowed me to open up my eyes as well, looking at perspectives that maybe I wouldn't have had if I had just grown up with only Americans around me. But not only those perspectives of, hey, visit this place and see what it looks like, but let's experience the culture. Let's see how we can improve everywhere, not just where you are located now, but people on all different continents. How do they think? And it changes your perspective. It changes how you think of opportunities and what your goals are.
Thank you, Shannon. Fantastic insights. Aurel, this one's for you. Just in terms of what Shannon was saying, she touched on some very important points in terms of seeing abilities in other people that they often can't see in themselves, and that role of mentors is extremely important. And I know many of the entrepreneurs in our community look to you as the investors, as mentors and role models. Based on your extraordinary experience, are there any key behaviors, in your opinion, that differentiate brilliant entrepreneurs from average entrepreneurs?
Yeah, it's a very good question. See, what people don't understand is, entrepreneurship or starting a business is not for everyone. It's not everyone's cake. Somebody is seeing that there are unicorns coming up, there are million enterprises, $1 million businesses coming up, and they want to jump in the wagon. That is not the right thing, as I said earlier, and as our panel guest was also referring to. So what one needs to look into from the investor's perspective is, if I want to invest in a business, in a startup, or in a established business, what I would see is I have a number of options. It is my money. It's my hard-earned money, and I want to put this, and I have a number of options. So why should I take and put and bet on this particular entrepreneur or a particular idea? So from an investor perspective, I would visualize the idea, whether the idea has got its own uniqueness, whether this idea will succeed, and what is my chance of risk in this particular idea. After evaluating the idea correctly, I will stick on to the entrepreneur himself, and I will come back to the point, what is the entrepreneur about? What is his attitude? Why he wants to start an idea? What is the competitive advantage he has? Whether he has a technicality support, as you rightly said, that one needs to have proper technical support, even for the webinar. Your colleague, the way in which he's helping and putting his stuff together without any problem, it's going on fine. It requires a qualitative technical support, and whether he has a team behind him to support this idea, whether he can put a good team, as one of the panelists was mentioning, a kind of servant leadership, whether I am able to take the team along with me, whether I am going to give a right amount of shares or ESOPs, or am I willing to share my wealth with the fellow team members. So these are the things which an investor will evaluate from an entrepreneur, from an idea perspective, from the business perspective, before putting the money. So an entrepreneur should be genuine. He should have the trust established. If he wants some good investors in the board, he has to have these elements with him, a right set of attitude to put the business, and to convince the investor after being convinced by himself. My philosophy is, you cannot give something if you do not have it. You should be genuine. You should be 100% genuine. If you have to give something, you need to have it. You cannot fake it out. In the long run, you will fail. You may win in the short run, but in the long run, certainly you will fail. So you should have it in you. You should be genuine enough in your approach. You should be trustworthy. These are the basic qualities of an entrepreneur, and he should be have the ability to share the wealth with everyone, with the team members, with all the stakeholders, including the investors. And he should not have the mentality to control of controlling the company or controlling the team members or anything. The attitude of control with an entrepreneur is bad.
Thank you, Aurel. This is why I love hosting these sessions, because we get to learn from the best. Jonathan, following up in terms of what Aurel was saying, when it comes to raising capital, something all our entrepreneurs want the answers to, what is the single biggest mistake that you constantly see entrepreneurs making?
And there are many, but I think the one that sort of stands out and that actually leads to all the others is that they fail to think like an investor. So if you don't have an investor's perspective, it's very difficult to present the business and your proposal in a way that will speak to an investor. And there's this big gap between what entrepreneurs think and the way they think about their business and want to present it, and the way investors think, because they're seeing the coin from different sides. entrepreneurs are often very blue sky. It's often, wow, billion-dollar companies, and we've got all these grand visions, and we just need a few $1 million, and then the world's ours. And they've got really over-optimistic projections of where their business is going to go. And an investor is much more conservative. An investor will go, okay, well, that may all be well, but I've heard this story many, many times, and the stats are that 19 out of 20 startups fail. That's just the way it is. So I'm a little bit more skeptical. You have to convince them that what you're saying is actually feasible, is reasonable, is rational. And my advice to entrepreneurs who are listening would be to just be a little bit more conservative, be humble, and be a little bit more conservative in the way that you present yourself. So instead of all the blue sky stuff, which quite frankly will scare off any professional investor within about 5 minutes. So it's just not another one of these. I see these all the time. If you come across as credible, responsible, trustworthy, all the qualities RL mentioned, and sort of cautiously optimistic, I'd say. You need to be optimistic as an entrepreneur, but not over-optimistic. You need to also be like saying, okay, I've assessed the risk factors. I see, that there perhaps are these challenges, and I've modeled these into a financial model. I think you really need to have a financial plan if you don't have one, and you need to put that plan down on paper, in a and in a detailed investment proposal.
Thank you,
the
Jonathan.
second biggest mistake, if I may say, is to fail to prepare. If you fail to
we seem to be losing
prepare,
Jonathan there.
Pleasure.
We seem to be losing Jonathan there.
I'm here. I'm still here.
Oh, perfect. Welcome back, Jonathan. We thought we lost you. A question for you, Divya, based on what Jonathan was saying. You probably see hundreds. Perfect. Divya, you probably see hundreds of startup entrepreneur pitches coming your way. And as Jonathan said, a lot are going to fail. Are there any companies that really stood out to you as crazy ideas that shouldn't be starting businesses in the first place?
Okay, so we hold some closed room pitching events for these startups, right? And whenever we release entry forms for startups, we receive around 400 to 500 startup entries. And to be very honest, I would say only 30% of them are the ones who should actually stay in the business, right? Otherwise, people actually do not know what they are doing. They do not have done their market study. They haven't done any kind of research on whether their product is the demand in the market and what is going to be their target audience, what is going to be their target group. So there are a lot of startups. I think I should not call them even startups. So there are a lot of people who they have started something. I don't know if I call them crazy or like the idea, if I call the ideas crazy, or they are doing it just for the sake of doing it. So it is very important for any person who wants to start up, who wants to become an entrepreneur, to realize what exactly he wants to do. The idea that he's thinking about, no matter how crazy it sounds at first, as long as you have a vision around it, as long as you have done proper research around it based on what is the market size, what is going to be your target group, how many competitors you have. And if there are no competitors, then there might be a reason why other companies or other people did not step into it. So try to do a root cause analysis for it. And once you have done all these analysis, once you have done all these research, then only you should jump into the entrepreneurship journey. So I believe that is like, no idea is crazy, no idea is stupid, as long as you are very strong with your research and study.
Thank you, Divya. I know Orel's got a few points on this topic. Orel, we'd love to hear from you. Shannon, we would also love to hear your thoughts on this. Orel, please, would you go first?
Yeah, I would like to have a quick point as Divya was really correctly mentioning. See, it's natural human tendency, Alysia, that it's natural human tendency is to engage in visual thinking. See, many of the startups do the mistake. They are over optimistic. As Jonathan was rightly saying, one needs to be optimistic, but whether that optimism meets with realistic tendencies is what one has to look into. So for the entrepreneurs who get into the Success Club, they are real optimists with realism taken into consideration. So what one needs to do is to engage in this model. What I see is a critic, either it be a friend or family member or a mentor, one needs to discuss this idea and find out the other side of the coin, because you, from the mindset, from the perspective of psychology, you will have a psychological bias as an entrepreneur with your idea, because you are optimistic about the idea. So you need to have, and that I would say is worth in diamonds, to have a real critic of your idea or of your service, of your product, whatever you come out with, is to engage in that conversation and understand that conversation correctly, and grow with that conversation, understand what are the difficulties, and make your ideas fail with less probability. So if you understand that critic point of view, you will fail less. So that should be an entrepreneur view, is to have good critics around him and genuinely address that problem, but stick with your conviction of your idea or product or service or design.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
RL. Shannon, we would love to hear your thoughts here too.
I agree with RL. I think it's very important to have, a healthy sense of skepticism, and also have people around you that are willing to not just always agree with what you're saying, to say, all right, let's look at this and let me do my analysis on my own. Does it make sense? Can it prosper? And there are a lot of different things. I don't think it's just an idea and then you put action behind it and you think it's going to succeed. I think that we all know there's a tremendous amount of work that goes into this. What is the end goal? How do we get there? But what are all the small steps that need to be taken in order to make this a very successful business? So if all of those, if you can't check every single one of those boxes, the likelihood is that it's not really going, it's a great idea, but in practicality, it's not going to succeed. So I think it's always good to be humble enough to say, okay, this is my idea, but will it amount to something for other people? Because our ideas are only as good as those that can potentially use it. And if you need to always step outside of your shoes and not want to make something work. But really, if you're on the other side of the coin, would you buy this from someone else? Would you buy this product, this idea, whatever it might be? And if you can't answer yes, and if your friends and family and mentors can't answer yes, then it may not be a great product offering. And that's okay. It might lead you into another idea. So it's no today is not going to lead into an even better idea and a better offering.
Thank you, Shannon.
So.
And while you're on that point, I'd love to ask you this question, and then it goes to all our other panelists as well. You've been the entrepreneur, you're now the investor. I'm sure you are sympathetic to the plight of entrepreneurs that want to succeed. Are there ever red flags that you spot that you think to yourself, this entrepreneur or this investment is just too good to be true?
Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. Yes, many times whenever you think it's, I feel like if there's a situation, I believe this is too good to be true, my analysis and all my red flags go up tenfold. And I look at everything with a magnifying glass because I want to make sure that it's true, that it's real. But I mean, we've heard so many stories just in the last 20 or 30 minutes of having a great idea, raising the capital, checking all the boxes, and then a small startup company that started with $2 million sold for $500 million, right? So those things on the outside perspective, you could say, oh, that's too good to be true. But maybe it's not. That person just took all of the right steps. They did all of the right things. And then they sold it for that amount of money. But it's not that they woke up and it happened. It happened through a tremendous amount of hard work and a tremendous amount of analytics. So I think that just make sure that you are not hoping and dreaming that this idea is the big one, but to also make sure that you do the back-end analysis, that you get your mentors in, that you get all of that, those people in that are going to tell you the truth, whether you want to hear it or not. And if it passes all of those tests, then maybe it is too good to be true, but maybe it is a reality.
Thank you, Shannon. Jonathan, we would love to hear your thoughts in terms of red flags when investments appear too good to be true. Please walk us through your thought process.
Yeah, I think it's what I call the BS filter. Really, it's blue sky. If people are projecting, sort of the hockey stick they talk about, where it's kind of a growth rate that's unrealistic for a long period of time, and you look at the numbers and you just go, that just doesn't stack up. The market's not big enough to support that. They're growing too fast, really. I think there's a law in nature and in life of organic growth, and I think you have to sort of start small and then gradually build up. And it certainly, companies do start small, and as Shannon said, sometimes they grow and they do become multi-million or billion-dollar companies. But it's an organic growth curve. You can't go. I wish I could show it, but it starts off slow and then it gradually steepens, and it can get quite steep after 5 to 10 years. But very seldom do you go in a straight line from starting point to $1 billion in a few years. And I think very often entrepreneurs they don't realize that everything has an organic process, and it is going to take a lot of work, and there are going to be challenges and obstacles to overcome. And so if they haven't taken that into account, that would be a big red flag for me to go, okay, because it's just not realistic, and they don't really understand the nature of the journey they're going to be taking. Far better to have an entrepreneur who goes, okay, I know what this is about. And I think this is where mentorship can really come in, to kind of just say, look, learn from other entrepreneurs and people who've been through it. This is what the entrepreneurial journey is like, and just be realistic about what you're in for. And it's not to say that you can't succeed big, but be prepared to do a lot of work, and it may take a lot longer than you thought it would.
Thank you, Jonathan. RL, this question's for you, following on from what Shannon and Jonathan were saying. You're extremely busy. Your time is limited. I'm sure you have hundreds of entrepreneurs pitching you on a daily basis. What are the 2 questions you always ask entrepreneurs first when it comes to them interacting with you?
See, when I zero in on an idea, if the idea is good, I would like to engage in a loose conversation with the entrepreneur to find out more about himself from a psychological perspective, his attitude, his reflection, whether he's committed to the idea or not committed to the idea, or a loose conversation, not a formal conversation. Because I don't like to, once I've zeroed in an idea, I've zeroed in on an entrepreneur, I would like to get engaged with the entrepreneur, because I'm going to commit an investment with him, whether it's genuineness, whether it's attitude, whether it's what is towards track record, so many other factors which will come out in a loose conversation. So I would like to engage myself with an investor, because I'm going to get, it's a kind of marriage between an investor and an entrepreneur, whether I will see whether we fit in. There might be some other person who is going to fund him. They may be right, that idea may not work with me. And second thing, whether I would like to look at is whether I will be, from an investor perspective, whether I will be adding value to the entrepreneur really or not, because I want that entrepreneur to win. I want to make him wealth. So the wealth creation process is a two-sided. It has got 2 sides. It's not singular. It has got multiple sides to it. Whether I will be, as an investor, adding value to the entrepreneur, whether I will be adding real value to him, whether I will make him a success through my contribution of money, capital, or ideas, or any other thing which I can contribute with. So because you should not look at from one perspective only. My view is you should have multiple perspectives. So if you are not the fit for the person, the entrepreneur, or his attitude, you should come out of it, irrespective of whether you're making money or not. And that is what I have seen the people who have created massive wealth, whether you look at Warren Buffett or Bill Gates or Steve Jobs or Elon Musk or anybody. It's about not the ideas you should take, the ideas you leave, is also critically important. Whether how much no you are able to say positively. There are so many excitement. There is an entrepreneurship revolution happening around the globe. So you should be careful enough to pick the right people with the right idea, and you should commit yourself to that idea, even as an investor. That's what I would see, whether I am a fit to that investment or should I say no to it. The answer is the power of investment is in saying no and not saying in yes.
Fantastic advice. I know the late Steve Jobs lived by this, so thank you, RL. Divya, following on from the fantastic insights RL was sharing, can you contribute your thoughts here?
Sure, Alysia, I can. So, as RL said, it was like he framed it very well, the answer. So, talking about the investor perspective, right? What we see as a strategic investment is more of how the investor and the concept where he's investing is in sync, right? So, for example, my interest is in one particular sector of startups where I have my knowledge, I have my experience, I have my expertise. So if I invest in that particular idea, if I invest in that particular startup, maybe I'll be in more sync there. I'll be able to advise them better. I'll be able to contribute better. So investment is just not about giving money and taking equity. It's more about how involved you can be with the founders, how in sync are you with the idea, how much is your belief in the idea, and plus you have to see the attitude of the founders. Are they living by that idea? Is that particular concept on which they are working upon, is that their passion? And it has to be very it has to be made sure that people who are working on a particular concept, they have to believe in that. Then only they can make the investors believe in that. So it is very necessary for the entrepreneurs, for the startup founders to believe in their idea. Then only they will be able to convince the investors. And talking from the investor perspective, it is very important to understand the concept, to have the expertise in that area, and to commit some relationship with those founders.
Thank you, Divya. And you've touched on such interesting points. This next question is for you, Sharon. And I know we're running out of time, but we've got some community questions that our community would love you as our experts to answer. We keep talking about passion as far as entrepreneurs go, but there's also a side of you guys as investors that has to be inspired. So our community question is, what excites you as an investor in 2017, Shannon? And of course, we'd love our other panelists to answer this too. Please go for it, Shannon.
Well, for me, anything that's a good offering that I believe will make other lives better. And again, I don't care if that's real estate. The real estate that we involve ourselves in, we always make sure that it's somewhere that I would live. I'll never sell something to someone else unless I would live there. And it's a beautiful offering. In the medical industry, it's very important to me that I'm not just offering something that is a commodity product, those sell well as well, but will this product actually help a life of who is on the table, because they have a family, they have a home, they have kids or grandkids, whoever it might be. So to me, I never care what the product is, as long as the end result is going to make someone's life better, or that they can go on living in a better way. I know that sounds very simplistic, but that's really my equation, is how am I helping other people? And if it will help them in that manner or capacity, then it's a home run.
Exquisitely said, and I'm coming back to the follow-up question. Jonathan, based on what we've been talking about, what excites you as an investor in 2017?
Yeah, I think a vision. If an entrepreneur has a really good idea and a vision of how that idea could help people, that's really the key to it. Because if it's not adding value, it's not helping people, then there's no real economic rationale for it. It's not going to stand the test of time. It'll be a fad and it'll go away. But so it's really looking at the core idea and the value that it adds, and then also looking at the entrepreneur and saying, like, who's this person? If you can find a person who has those qualities we've talked about, who has a vision, but they're also humble, they're cautiously optimistic, they understand about servant leadership, really someone who's has developed themselves, has what Abraham Maslow called self-actualized to quite a high degree. And if you've got a good idea with a sort of a high-level person who's quite self-actualized and has all those qualities, then you've got a winner. And that kind of a business would really excite me to get involved with.
Thank you, Jonathan. RL, we'd love to hear your thoughts in terms of what excites you in 2017 as an investor.
Hi, you see, what excites me is to get into healthcare, because I see a lot of future of the low-cost healthcare, especially when I look at Europe and Valley, the way in which research especially is happening in Europe, countries like Spain, where cutting-edge research is happening, and to marry that to Asia and Africa, and also what is happening in the low-cost healthcare sector in a country like India, because and give some solutions to people, which will, by the way, create a wealth, massive wealth, because you are addressing a problem, you are addressing an issue. For example, as I said, a breast cancer screening for less than $3 and a result in 10 minutes or 15 minutes, because cancer is better prevented than cured. It's difficult to cure the cancer once it happens. So the idea is, and the screening devices, the medical devices, which can address the massive problem in the world today, what we are facing, at the same time create wealth. Because what I have seen in the long run is, if your mission is genuine, and if you are wanting to create an impact in the world, and if you have the team and the skills with you, the nature starts helping you. People like Alysia are there around the world to help you to take care and to grow your things. The help comes around with an invisible hand, I would say. So you should be genuine and in your approach, and you should have the necessary skills, a team to implement and execute that idea very well. Once that happens, the money follows automatically. So I am
beautifully said. Thank you, RL. I know we're running out of time, but I know everybody wants this question answered. So I'm going to start with you, Divya. This has been an incredibly inspiring session. Can you give us a couple of the books you've read that will help encourage our entrepreneurs, that have helped you become the very best investor you can be? Divya, please go for it. We seem to have lost Divya. Shannon, please give us some books you'd love for us to read to become just as inspiring as you.
One of my most favorite books is Lean In, Women Work, and The Will to Lead by Sheryl Sandberg. I would just say that's my #1 book by far, especially being a woman in entrepreneurship. That's not always, for everyone, it's challenging. I think that there are some additional barriers, and I think that she breaks down those walls and talks not only about how you can be an entrepreneurial woman and leadership, but how you balance that at home as well. So for me, being a mother of 2, that it's a very empowering book.
So we have to.
It's a difficult one, but if I had to pick one, I'd say there's a book called Firms of Endearment, which really struck a chord with me. It's now in its 2nd edition, so get the updated version. Firms of Endearment, and then subtitle to it is How World-Class Companies Profit from Passion and Purpose. It's by 3 authors, Raj Sisodia, David Wolf, and Jag Sheth. And for me, this is really kind of the cutting edge of where businesses are going. And it's very much about companies that are driven by values and love, in a sense. Can I give one more book?
Of course, as quickly as possible, because we want to ask you guys to share your tweets.
Sure, yeah. The other one is called Love is the Killer App. It's by the guy who founded Yahoo. I'll just look for it now. Tim Saunders. Love is the Killer App. I'd suggest those 2 as a starting point, yeah.
Thank you, Jonathan. RL, please share your book.
Amazing, Alysia. I know why you are asking these questions, having read 500 books in a year. It's amazing. It's inspiring. So I would say that Entrepreneurial Revolution, How to Develop Entrepreneurial Mindset by Daniel Priestley is an amazing book. And second thing I would suggest is by Stephen Covey, The Habits of Effective People, because individuals are the ones who create ideas and who create brilliant companies. So you have to be an amazing individual to create an amazing idea and implement that idea. So you should get your basics right. I would say that idea cache should be sophisticated yet simple, but you have to get your brilliant basics. I would call in 2 lines, brilliant basics. So you have to strengthen yourself as an individual to meet success and failures. So you should be an effective individual first. Second thing, entrepreneur revolution, how to develop your entrepreneur mindset.
Thank you, RL. Divya, please share the book that we all got to read.
Hi. Yeah, I lost the connection in between. So one book that I would suggest, which I have started reading, is The Innovator's Dilemma. And I'm really liking this book. I haven't completed it yet, but seriously, my mindset is really changing when I am reading it. So probably you'll learn how to, actually do a business, how to start and beat the big dinosaurs in business, and how you can reach that level. So I would suggest everyone to read this book at least once, The Innovator's Dilemma. It's written by Clayton Christensen. Yeah.
Thank you, Divya. I absolutely adore Clayton Christensen, so thank you for recommending that book. Now, everybody,
and I will also need your book list, Alysia.
Now we're going to ask our experts to prepare their tweets so that we can go and apply their world-class knowledge to our businesses. In the meantime, thank you to everyone for this truly amazing session. Just to keep you posted on our upcoming sessions, Worth, some of the world's best, joining us again as guest panelists. This coming Wednesday, we have our monthly Inspiring Woman monthly fireside chat, where 5 superbly successful, inspiring women from around the world share their entrepreneurial secrets and the best advice they ever got. On May 24th, we have Do You Work Too Hard as an Entrepreneur? Take control of your life now. On May 28th, we have our monthly pitching session for our panel of global investors. Biggest startup myths. What do investors know that we as entrepreneurs don't? You definitely don't want to miss these sessions. We love hearing from you, so keep us up to date in all your news. You can reach us at InspireMe at onlinefiresidechat.com. And we love knowing all the exciting things happening in your community. So you can find me, as well as our VIPs, as well as our champions on LinkedIn, and you can find us on Twitter as well. Don't forget, if you enjoyed the session and you'd like other entrepreneurs around the world to benefit from our fireside chats, remember to keep sharing invitations so we can get to our 100-country goal. Now we'd like each of our experts to please share their tweet piece of advice. RL, please go for it.
I would say that I said that sophisticated idea, simple execution, brilliant basics.
Love it. Shannon, please go for it.
I would say take the leap and just make sure that you have your mentors around you to support you. But take the leap, because if you do, you won't regret it.
Extremely inspiring words of advice, especially on Mother's Day today. So thank you so much. Jonathan, your tweet advice.
Have an inspired vision and values. Think like an investor. Be humble, a servant leader, and hang when it goes tough.
Love it, love it, love it. Divya, please give us your tweet.
So first thing, introspect on whether you want to get onto this entrepreneurship journey. Be ready to take risks. Be an executor, have a vision, and never live in the fear of failure.
Beautifully said. My tweet piece of advice, be grateful. Thank you to these extraordinary global leaders for joining us. There are so many wonderful things to be grateful for. You're fortunate and privileged to be an entrepreneur, to build your dreams, to have families and friends that support you. So gratitude is key. Now I'm going to ask on the count of 3 our panelists to say bye to all of you, because I know you've enjoyed spending time with them, as have I. So thank you again to everyone. Have a truly amazing week. As our experts have said, remember to keep hustling and never give up. Panelists, get ready. 1, 2, 3. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.